per se, but it's a journey, and how you travel it is what we're evaluating as a people and as a nation. So thank you very much for joining us on this Independence Special here on your passionate, trustworthy, and conversational radio. Had a great time here with all the amazing conversation today. Well, welcome to Hard Facts. You'll get even better, I promise you, from now to 7 p.m. My name is Kimberly. Mwachukwu, call me Kim, the Oracle, the Digital Oracle, OTF, the Fellow, Ochanya One, Madam Speaker, and I'll say yes to them all. I'll be your host for 4 hours, now to 7 p.m., and we're going to have a laid-back but intense conversation together. It's a holiday, so you're relaxed. However, I feel guilty because I had to drag my guest, Mr. Simon. Mr. Simon River to join us in the studio on a day when he should be resting at home. But he's for God and country, so we truly appreciate you. You're welcome, sir, and happy Independence Day to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Kimberly, and happy Independence to Nigerians.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We'll start off talking about Nigeria. The president had much to say to Nigerians. For those who are holding their breath and thinking by some miracle he was going to talk about subsidy, haven't you learned that he's not going to go there? As long as we're getting all of the funds and IMF and World Bank are intervening, we have to go by their very stringent economic conditions to handing out some of those loans. And the IMF particularly have been calling for subsidy removal. So I doubt it will take intense pressure for our government to bulge to the demand of the people. Well, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu today stated that Nigeria must either reform for progress and prosperity or continue with business as usual and risk collapse. He, however, said his administration, upon taking the leadership of the country 16 months ago, decided to reform the political economy and defense architecture given the critical juncture the country found itself. He lamented that Nigeria found itself in a precarious situation because of the missed opportunities and mistakes of the past, while calling on Nigerians not to allow the mistakes to follow the country into the future. This was part of the text of the national broadcast by the president on the occasion of the 64th independence anniversary of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that was delivered this morning. Nigeria got its independence from Britain, its colonial master, on the 1st of October 1960. Just in case you do not know, now you know. Tinubu, in the national broadcast made available, said the economy faced many headwinds and security highly impaired upon his assumption of office, and that they found themselves at a dizzying crossroad where they must choose between two paths: reform for progress and prosperity, or carry on business as usual and risk collapse. And we decided to reform our political economy and defense architecture, he said. So it's quite interesting. So it's reform for progress and prosperity or carry on as business as usual and risk collapse. So apparently this is progress and prosperity journey we're on at the moment. Let's start off with your candid opinion of the president's Independence Day address to the nation.
Well, thank you, Kimberly. If after the president's speech, I try to round down to say, what is the import of that speech? What came to my mind is the June 4th independence, is the July 4th independence of America. There was an address by one former slave, Frederick Douglass.
Okay.
Frederick Douglass was a former slave, and he was emancipated. He was free at the end of the day, and he was asked to come and deliver an independence speech. And he came out scolding the system.
Oh boy.
He scolded the system so much that people say, they came out to talk about inspiration, to tell people, oh, we've gone far. He said, no, the American nation has never gone any further than entrenching injustice in the system. So there's nothing. Now, when you actually look at Tinubu's speech, what comes to my mind was that of disappointment. I was disappointed. There was nothing much from the speech. I will tell you this. The president rightly said we're on a journey to progress and prosperity. We ask ourselves, we ask Nigerians, what can you compare your standard of living 1 year ago or 2 years ago before he came into power to this? No. Let's even look at in the last 3 months. What has happened? The cost of fuel went from 690 to probably 1,200. Is that a sign of prosperity? Now you talk about IMF. You talk about all. He said in the speech that he's been able to up the foreign reserve to about 37 billion from 34 billion. And he's been able to clear about 30 trillion of ways and means in the CBN. And I ask myself, what has that got to do with the hunger pervading the land? What has the ordinary Nigerian gained? Because we are living in a present dispensation where to even feed is a problem. Nigerians are increasingly finding it very difficult to survive. The cost of living has hit the roof, and many Nigerians feel it's more easier for them to walk to their death. You have seen many people walk to the breach and plunge themselves to death. I have to tell you that Nigerians can no longer bear the hardship in the land. Some 2-3 weeks ago, the former heads of state, General Abdul Salami Abubakar, while receiving members of the campaign for CDD, he told them that the hardship is becoming unbearable.
It made headlines, actually.
For Abdul Salam, who is known to be this quiet person, he's a demure character. He doesn't just want to talk. No. For him to really come out to say, hey, this hardship is beyond the level we expected of it. It should sound an alarm to the Tinubu administration that hardship, cost of living is something else. And I think there has been a communication problem. It's not, Tinubu came and said, well, that some of the ministers may be sacked because they are not bringing out information on the achievement of his administration. What achievement do you bring when there are no achievements? And that's a fact of the matter. Because one, what can you point to me vividly something that the present administration has done that has lifted Nigerians from poverty? They keep on telling you that it's not business as usual. To me, it's business as usual. There was something very fundamental that was missing in the president's speech. What have been his performance profile in fighting corruption? Corruption remains the bane. It remains the albatross. It remains the major problem of governance in Nigeria. And since Tinubu assumed the presidency on May 29, 2023, not much has been heard. We've seen some drama at EFCC. Just recently, we were told that the governor of Taraba State.
Oh, Darius Ishaku.
The arraigned. But if there is an agency that has done that, why has it not been able to arraign Yahya Bello for the past 4 or 5 months? And you keep on telling me that it's not business as usual. It's business as usual. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Because if something has changed, Nigerians will know that something has changed. Well, it's not. I think it's for now for the president to sit down and listen to Nigerians speak. We've seen there were a group that were insisting on holding a protest at the Eagle Square today. The little snippet I read was that, they were attacked or they were tear gas. No, that is their constitutional right. They have a right to protest. I'm very sure Bola Tinubu has not forgotten that after his tenure as governor of Lagos State, he led protests against succeeding administration. And if you did that, why should you allow some people to oppose youth who are at the receiving end of the policies of your administration? Why should they be tear gas? Yes, I have heard them talking about labor employment empowerment program LEAP that will provide 2.5 million. Well, if it's on the pages of newspaper, fine, but I don't see that because there are some basic economic sense, there are some basic economic policy that are not on ground. When you increase your interest rate, you keep on increasing every MPC meeting.
An increase goes up.
You make it impossible for investors to even get money. It's become very, very difficult. And to tell you the truth, what Nigerians are simply doing is to find what they can eat.
Maybe for local investors and indigenous ones. But if you're looking at foreign direct investors, they will it's a good turnover for them. You start to weigh this on the scales, saying, how does it benefit us more? Because borrowing becomes very difficult for small businesses. And I know that a lot of small business, SMEs raise that concern that it will create more unemployment as there'll be more job cut because of the steep interest in borrowing. However, they're saying it's to mop up and regulate cash flow within the economy to help with inflation. So we're looking at twin evil is to contend with the lesser evil at this point in time.
Tinubu's business is to improve the welfare of the Nigerian citizen. That is what government is meant for. If government cannot improve the welfare of the people, then that is to be a government. They are not doing anything. And if you critically look at the welfare conditions of Nigerian citizens, nobody needs to tell you that we are down the bottom. It will take the grace of God for us to be lifted up from there. And beyond that, you have unnecessary taxes that government have been imposing on people. Just an example. There was a driver who took me yesterday. I mean, it was 2 days ago. I was asking him, "Oh, you guys that are doing bowl, is it very easy now?" He said it's not been easy. But at the end of the day, he has 1,000 or 2,000 to take home. Then he narrated to me a very pathetic story. He said this VIO simply stopped him and asked him for particulars. The man gave. They asked him for triangle. The man gave. Do you know at the end of the day, they had to go, he should bring his spare tire. They went in and measured it and said it is not up to the volume that it ought to reach. And for that, he was asked to pay 10,000 naira. And just some 3 weeks ago, I was just driving. There was one of those VIO, they stopped me. Where's your particular? I gave them. Your driver's, I gave them. I got very, very angry because I had something to do in town. So he now asked me, "Can you put on your full light? Do this?" I said, "You must be very stupid." Yes. You see, they simply sit down to ensure that there must be a fault. So you have a policy that is evil and wicked. Because the man even asking you to do this and do that, he cannot even buy a tire. But he will insist because he wants revenue to come to the government. So this is a government of imposition of taxes and is a replication of maybe what the president did in Lagos. And even despite all this money they collect, what have you seen on ground? Nothing. Let's see. Let's be very, very...
Well, VIO has always been this way, even before Tinubu. And I just wanted to say that VIO has always been this way.
But they are more wicked and more terrible.
Well, I don't know how you assess them, but they've always been that way.
I'm telling you this, that the only thing, let me commend we, KD, FCT. There was this pay and pack. Is it pack and pay?
Pack and pay, yeah.
Those years is the consultant around that were collecting 80% of that pack and pay fees.
20 was going to the state.
Only 20% to the government. Wike came and said, no, that is not possible. And he simply cancelled it. So you just imagine while that pay and pay policy, people were collecting 80% of the entire revenue.
Well, it was their business, actually. It was actually a private business until it was revoked by the National Assembly and it came out under a different guise, which has also been slammed again because this is like second set of pack and pays that have been,
So, you see, when a government is for a few people, they simply want to benefit from our collective misery.
Before I go back to a bit more of what the president said, you brought the issue of the protest, and it's something we need to have a proper conversation about because, there's always been the debate. If you talk to Nigerians, their opinions are diverse when it comes to protest. Those who feel like, it hasn't yielded, we've not seen any result out of it, so we might as well suspend this physical presence on the road to register your displeasure. And those who feel like Nigerians have well within their right, as long as it's peaceful, that's a civic responsibility also. But we've seen also repeatedly, not just this government after another, been guilty of trying to clamp down and force people off the street from registering their grievances. We've seen security personnel actually shoot live bullet at people, and we've had deaths recorded in a different form. Some of them, yes, we would say a good number of the protests have been hijacked by criminal element waiting in the shadows to disrupt, whether paid or unpaid, deliberate, or it may be, I don't know what the intentions might be. We've seen that happen. But we've seen repeatedly the effort to just keep people off the street from protesting. And you start to really want to interrogate as we journey, because it's a collective of our 64 years journey to say how we handle mass protest, young people out on the street or old people, is also indicative of how we're doing well in terms of our democracy, because these are some of the components of it. At this point in time, using of tear gas, every country will try and control a crowd if it's going riotous. I can understand that. But we've seen instances where a gathering just seemed to be profiled as being very dangerous, such that when you mention protest, people start to worry that people might die, or it might get destructive. Yeah. How did we get to this point?
Yeah, we got to that point because the politicians have even hijacked the process. In the sense that anything of protest, they are thinking of 2027. They are thinking that it's the opposition figures that are behind such things, behind it. And that is just unfortunate. I've always said here that 2027 is far. But the politician has drawn it so close as if it is tomorrow. So anything you do, they subject it through the lens of 2027. They are very, very frightened that the opposition wants to portray them as bad, as evil. But I can let you know this, that when a government is bad and people are silent, you embolden such government. But when the government is bad and people speak against it and they rise up against it, they will be forced to cleanse the wrath in that government. So any plan, any opposition to protest, if you want to look at it critically, is politicians don't want to be identified. Politicians in the corridors of power don't want to be identified with such. Because governance has been reduced to personal empowerment. And that is an unfortunate thing. Our hospitals have collapsed, but you see them in the mass private estates owned by individuals. Our educational system is no longer where it ought to be, because individuals working in the system have gamed the system, collected the money, and built big schools. And they don't give a damn about citizens. And poverty has been weaponized to ensure that the poor cannot even have the strength to walk the street.
Cannot breathe.
They cannot breathe. But this president told us that let the poor breathe. But I ask you this question. What will you say is the food for the common man? What will you say? How? How do you, rice, is it rice that is close to 100,000 naira per 50 kg? Or is it gari? Those are little things you find, okay, the poor man will have a guy. But you see, when you come to a time, any nation that cannot feed its citizens, it's not a nation. It will be subjected to so many crises. And that is the crisis we are in. Is it the insecurity? Is it the flooding? The flooding in Maiduguri, I was told that there were plans to move about 300 billion naira from the Federation account to take care of victims, and some people blocked it. Now, so much money is being given to that state government. You see bread being thrown to people upstairs. Are we not feeling embarrassed?
People who were trapped, actually. I think I know the video you're talking about, Mr. Arif.
See, let me tell you this. It's a shame in a modern society that we will allow a dam to collapse when there were all the signals, clear signals, that certain things ought to be done. But because we run a system that is flawed, a system that is faulty, they even pray that let such tragedy come up so that money will be made available.
Released.
Yes, that is it. Because every year, see, we experienced flooding last year. We are experiencing it this year. Next year, we are going to experience it again, whether we like it or not. Now, you now ask the question, what is the policy of the nation on water resources? How are we managing our water resources across the country? In Abuja, as I speak with you, less than 60 to 70% cannot access potable water. But every year, as I was driving, you see the flood everywhere. It was just a small flooding coming, and nothing is being done. Nothing is done.
Well, talking about something being done, I know it might sound reactive. However, the government approved for a disaster relief fund to be set up of some sort to respond swiftly to disaster when it happens in a different parts of the country. Not just for Maiduguri, but it happened after the Maiduguri flooding, to saying that we need to set up a fund of some sort to dealing with this. But it will be also nice to look at the proactive aspect of it. You can't preempt nature per se, but people have been able to read when there's a tornado, when there's a tsunami, and put out some plans to just mitigate to some extent the level of damage that can be done. It'd be nice for us to see that in the country.
Well, we live in a nation where nothing works in a sense, in the strict sense, and some people facilitate the dawn of an emergency so that they can rip up, so that they can get money. And I can't just understand why this country continues to experience flooding every now and then without nothing being done. I quite agree with you. Apart from setting a relief fund, why should we always be interested in just giving money when there is a disaster? Why can't we stop the disaster from happening?
If it has happened, that's why you can't stop a disaster if it has.
You see, why they do that is because they want it to happen. They allowed it to happen. That is when they say, hey, money is for the big boss. Okay, let me tell you a very interesting story. When COVID-19 came in, there was this young man. He's a big man, was almost retiring. So much money was budgeted, and the man eventually got to be appointed as one of the big people that were on that COVID-19. And before you know it, the man got revived. How he got a big house in Abuja. He looked very happy.
You know this man?
I know this man. That's a problem. do you understand? See, there are so many things about this country that is very sad. See, this country is a sad tale. A sad tale that has nothing to offer to its people. Yes, we can be hopeful, but let me tell you, of what I have seen of the Tinubu administration, is only here to renew the hopelessness of our own people. There is nothing there. We'll sit down here and talk from morning to evening. They tell you there's nothing, only hope. They'll give you so many programs, nothing will come out of it. Because see, if you cannot feed your citizens, if you cannot create a policy that will help them, see, the poverty Nigeria is enmeshed in is as a result of bad policy. It's not, it's man-made. They simply sit down, do one policy, and they flush the entire citizen into just poverty, into penury. There is nothing how they survive that is not their own concern.
Let's look at some thoughts, and we'll look at more of the president's message. Daniel Ode on Facebook. Yes, we're live on Facebook and YouTube. You can join us there and get to see Mr. Simon Rafe. Daniel Ode says, Happy Independence Day to Nigeria, and for all Nigerians. Our wish is for Nigeria to grow with her age. Agio Gani says, greetings to our guest. Happy Independence Day. Fidelis Atume to you. And we're also on YouTube at Nigeria Info ABJ. Kim and the guest, good afternoon. Musa Usman Ibrahim Adesheyi, God bless you, Sister Kim, and our guest. I'm watching live from Shaki, Oyo State. Tinubu is just a power. Definitely not a fan of the president at this point in time. Good to know you're watching us all the way from Shaki. I was there a couple of years back, and for a special report. Let's see here. Also on WhatsApp, I just came online now. Your guest in the studio appears to me. Did you know what is called force majeure? Who's manned the dam? Is it not Nigerian? If given the opportunity to run the show, are you sure our guest will do better? Is it the government that will feed its citizen? Not until he frees his mind from this, we're going nowhere. I don't understand. Is it the government that will feed the citizens? It's not head of food security. I might not want to argue too much dollars, but yes, the government does have a role to play in terms of food security and ensuring the availability of it and affordability of it also. I agree with the guest. The speech was absolutely a disappointment for me as an individual. I wasn't expecting more than that. Neither was I disappointed. What is the basis that we are in a journey to progress? You know, a Good Friday from Wednesday by Ononuga, who is defending the indefensible. In 1999, wrote an article after 6 months of the government then, when he said, among others, 6 months down the line, Nigerians cannot feel the impact of government and governance. Today, this government is cruising on the second year learn. What can we now say? I challenge him to come out and tell Nigerians what the positive impact his government has created in the lives of Nigerians. It's more than unfortunate it was happening when it's our turn. We thought we're prepared to take our turn. Renewed hopelessness. Nothing lasts forever, though. That's one Kidi on my way. I think I'm beginning to.
Sorry.
Geronimo from Dutse. Every democracy thrives on freedom of expression, the right for people to air their grievances, but if in any way there are violations to this right to stabilize law and order, the police need to adopt global best practices instead of beating everyone into line or in line. In advanced democracy, what is usually done by police during protests is to observe and limit access to some location, not control access professionally, and make arrests when necessary. A process called kettling usually employed tactics. Okay? When government policies are hostile to the people, the right thing to do is to drop them. This is democracy, for God's sake. Shadrach from Jabi sends that one in. Tinubu's Independence Day speech is as uninspiring and disconnected from reality. The speech can't highlight the administration's failure to address youth unemployment, economic hardship, political corruption, while also condemning the criminalization of protest and the lack of electoral integrity. Overall, it portrays a bleak outlook for Nigerians under Tinubu's administration, says Wale Fatunla. No government is going to come out and address the nation and admit to its mistake or in its ineptitude and share to the world. It's not just the citizens that are watching, but the entire world actually, and share its inadequacies to the people. It's not going to do that. It's going to amplify the one area that they seem to have recorded some success and amplify it. And I always go back to Fashola. For me, Fashola, there were a lot of things when he was Minister of Power. I mean, that super minister he had, you know, that portfolio that was a little too heavy for him to handle. Power was one of those areas. And then he kept talking to Nigerians. Every opportunity he had to say, we are generating so much. And at that time, Nigerians were groping in the dark and were, you're generating. Boy, we can't distribute it. We have transmission challenge. What is this hype? But the man never let go. That one angle. Indeed, our generation increased at that time, but he couldn't distribute it. And so there was a bigger challenge to one victory, but he kept on it until he left. And then we knew at that point, like, dude, if it makes you feel good with this propaganda, go ahead. But that isn't that what government machinery is about, to amplify the one area where they're doing certain good. Are we saying that there's nothing from what the president said that you could tie to the truth to say, and indeed, even though it's exaggerated in its magnitude?
Somebody said something, should government feed the people? That's not what we're talking about. We are talking about policies that will help create a platform where government and where people can work and earn a living. Now, because of the removal of the petroleum subsidy, the issue of the bold business has gone down the drain. All these Uber business have gone down. But it was a job for most of our school graduates. They feel they don't have any, and they were living very, very comfortable. So now that subsidy came and it's gone. I think it was Dangote said that fuel in Nigeria is cheaper than that one is in Saudi Arabia.
Quite a number of people have said that.
But of course, there are people that have said he was just telling the truth, because the cost of fuel per liter in Saudi Arabia is 63 cents. In Nigeria is 67 cents. And what's the minimum wage? In Nigeria is 70,000. It's been passed, but I don't know if they've started the implementation. In Saudi Arabia, it's over 1 million naira, 4,000 riyals. So if at the end of the day, the guy who takes in a minimum of 1 million naira and the guy that takes in a minimum of 30,000 that you've now taken up to 70,000, who will feel that impact? Of course, it's we here in Nigeria. So a policy should have been properly put on ground to address the weakness of the vulnerable group. We run a mono economy. Any policy on oil will affect almost every aspect of our economic life. So government simply made that announcement, or the president made that announcement, not taking into cognizance. Okay, despite all this, they are still paying subsidy. They still pay subsidy. So what are you trying to achieve? See, there is nothing wrong if a government has made a mistake for them to come and say, hey, we have made a mistake. There's nothing wrong. To me, it is a sign of strength when you are able to admit your faults and you find a way of trying to tackle it. Now, in the US, when Biden was told, oh, step down, he said, no, I will not. Yeah. At the end of the day, he gave in. He kept in and said, let my deputy, let my vice president take over.
Yeah.
Then the whole thing changed. If he had refused to step down, we will have just said that the result, the US election, we will know who will emerge as president in November. But because of what he did, is now head on. They are now going on campaign. The poll shows that they are very, very close. You can't simply predict where the election will land or who will emerge as president. So what one is saying is, in Africa, we bring in a leadership of ego. Unfortunately, when we accept our faults, the society has made us to think that we are weak. And that is quite unfortunate. So the Tinubu administration needs to look at what has happened since it came in last year. Are we actually on the path of prosperity? Are we actually getting these things done? The way we are going, to me personally, because I'm not a part of government, and like someone said, if you are there, what will you do differently? If you are there, you can't do anything differently because the system is game against the people. So it is a system thing.
But the system is the people.
The system is the people.
The system in motion.
I may even tell you that Tinubu may not even know what is happening much.
No, I refuse to excuse any other president.
You will disagree.
I mean, we got a lot of that during Jonathan, where he was labeled as being clueless and not understanding. Former President Buhari was also labeled as being unaware, clueless to a certain degree. I mean, why do we always do that? To say we're having someone with all the power and then we paint a picture of helplessness around them. It's unacceptable.
Kimberly, when Jonathan was here, we call him the clueless one. When Buhari, the clueful one, came, we saw what we saw.
He was unaware also, because apparently.
He was unaware, but we knew so many things went under the waters. Now, we expected that Tinubu, who is a fighter for democracy, who was in the trenches. Was
he really?
He was, of course.
Okay, maybe his Nadeko days and the like.
Whether you like it or not, he was known for, he fought. Now, for who? For the people. Now that he is in power, one expected that no, he will give a close ears to the poor. Now, I will tell you that the poor man in Nigeria is at the receiving end. You see, you reduce the dignity of a man if you make him incapable to feed his family. We're not saying you should give him food. No, create a platform for him to earn something. And once you cannot create that platform, you have failed. And within the principles of what we have seen so far, it will take a very long time to come for that platform to be created. It will be very, very difficult because the small, medium scale, if you go to China, manufacturing of pencils is done by this SME, this small, medium family. They gather together how to make pencil, how to do this. Toothpick. We are still importing toothpick from China. Is it not embarrassing? Almost everything we are using in Nigeria is imported, including sanitary pad. I mean, it's quite unfortunate. It's quite sad.
All right. Well,
do you understand? Singlet, Nigerian wear singlet is made in China. It's made in India. I mean, are we not ashamed of ourselves? And we call ourselves that we are the giant of Africa. In what sense? What giant? So 64 years after, what have we achieved? We have achieved nothing. We can blame Tinubu from now till the kingdom come, but we run a system that is faulty. So we need to change the system. I don't subscribe to revolution because in the modern time nothing happens. I mean, it's not impossible because if you read Things Fall Apart, he said we've come together as a family. We cannot fight one another, but we have to sit down on the dialogue table and know how do we change this thing. The monster that needs to be extricated from the Nigerian system is corruption. We steal not to develop our country, but we steal to go and hide it in Europe, Americas, Dubai, and that is just what we want. So we are having the worst form of colonialism. It's local colonialism. The oppressors are no longer in Britain. The oppressors are among us. They are our brothers. They are our sisters.
All right. Yeah.
Right? So we need that system to be changed. It's not human. No. No government can give you food. But government can create an enabling platform. It's only government that can stop insecurity. But again, in Nigeria, while you are fighting insecurity, you don't want the people that are under attack to be involved. But we also are aware that there are rogue elements in the security system. That as long as there is insecurity, that is where they make their money.
Well,
you have security votes to
governors.
Governors running to hundreds of millions every month. What do you do with that money? You have to ask questions.
Talking about
the system.
Talking about security, let's look at one aspect where the government seems to commend itself for the efforts in that direction. On the security front, I'm happy to announce to you, my compatriot, that administration is winning the war on terror and banditry. Our target is to eliminate all the threat of Boko Haram banditry, kidnapping for ransom, and the scourge of all forms of violent extremism. Within 1 year, our government has eliminated Boko Haram and bandit commander faster than ever. As of the last count, over 300 Boko Haram and bandit commanders have been eliminated by gallant troops in the northeast, northwest, and some parts of the country. We have restored peace to hundreds of communities in the north, and thousands of our people have been able to return home. It is an unfinished business, which our security agencies are committed to ending as quickly as possible. As soon as we restore peace to many communities in the 12 parts of the north, our farmers can return to their farms. We expect to see a leap in food production and downward spiral in food costs. I promise you, we shall not falter on this.
No, I mean, to be very, very fair, the administration has achieved certain milestone in security issues. Not like the time of the 8 years of the Buhari administration, where we had banditry, Boko Haram, and a lot of things taking over the ungovernable spaces in some parts of this country. I tell you this because I'm from Kaduna State, and because from the southern part. I think I've traveled there maybe twice or thrice within this year, and I've seen the farming activities. People have gone to farm.
Confidently returning back to their families.
Yes, they have gone to farm. So it is something, maybe you ask the question, how has that been? But honestly, the present security
we know that the security has been intense. I mean, for the past 3 months.
It's been very, very intense. But again, we still have banditry in Zamfara, in Kebbi, Katsina, and I think those are the three major aspects, and Niger State. And I think something also needs to be done, because Niger, if you control if you're able to resolve the insecurity there, Niger alone has the capacity to feed not only Nigeria, but West Africa. But of course, there's this constant banditry, there's all insecurity every now and then. But to be very, very fair to him, at least he has achieved a milestone, as far as I'm concerned. Though some Nigerians say, no, he's not achieved anything. Because again, if you look at the tons of money that has been appropriated, you ask yourself, we will have done much better than that. But for now, honestly, as far as insecurity is concerned,
we have some
semblance of hope
in certain areas. I mean,
But some people also tell you that I better be killed while I am feel my stomach is filled than be living on the roadside, no money, no food to eat. Do you understand? That's what some people say.
Well, man's instinct is self-preservation. The first thing, how do you preserve yourself when you have warm food in your stomach?
Yes.
For starter, it's the very primary basic preservation for any person. So I can understand how that definitely will come up at any point in time.
Yes. So honestly, I think I commend Tinubu. But then that doesn't mean that for a nation that has been 64 years old, and we are still fighting to keep it together, I think there's a serious problem. Any nation that you have to fight to keep it in peace is a nation of trouble. And that is why investors cannot come in from foreign land. No foreign investor will come and invest in a place where his investment is not secured. An investment is a frightened bird. It doesn't perch in a place where there's no peace. So certain things need to be done. I'm so happy that the presidency have gotten investment of over $30 billion US. Maybe, but there were no details. But I think the devil will also be seen
in the detail. Indeed.
So maybe we wait and see what are those investments. Do you understand? Because see, I for one, and many of us, we invested hope that this is a man that fought for democracy. This is a man that said, well, he built Lagos, but I also know that Lagos is not Nigeria. It's a different game altogether. When you left, when you are in,
I think that's also part of the propaganda and rhetorics of Lagos. Lagos has been the hub of governance, even from the colonial days, and built it up and had several people who came in. It was just a propaganda machine that was active, that was vibrant, and they sold it big time enough to say, okay, he fought the Obasanjo. He was not even getting allocation yet. He got things moving to his credit, and they used it effectively.
Yes, but one thing we should note is that Lagos is not Nigeria. Because in Nigeria, you are talking of 36 states of the federation. All these people have governors, they have their problems, they have their crises, everything will be on your table.
Indeed.
And then you have ethnic, you have tribal, you have all sorts of factors. So it's not easy managing a complex country called Nigeria.
All right, sir.
But you can only manage it when you are truthful to yourself, when you know what you want, and when you declare that you are for the common good
of the people.
Simple.
Okay, let's go to the phone lines, take some comment quickly, and we'll continue on the aspect of it. And just to add these beats, sir, when we're talking about the dam and you were saying to avert it, the president did say that the government has ordered integrity test of all our dams in the country to avert future disaster. I mean, this is something to note and keep in the back pocket. God forbid that there's a future disaster around the dam. We can always go back to Mr. President. Didn't you address the country on our 64th independence and say an integrity test will be conducted? And it's not just going to be mere political speak and just to tell people something they want to hear, but to saying that indeed, moving forward, that our dams will be fortified in a sense that we're not going to lose hundreds of millions of property or lives because you overran it.
Kimberly, let me tell you, we have what they call ecological funds. Nobody is asking how do you spend those money. It's about ecology. What do you do?
Because you even ask if it's the federal government's call.
No. What are the states doing? Of course, there are dams that are for state, but states are supposed to take special interest. They are supposed to do certain things that they have not been doing. So I get a little bit mad when I see something happen. I say, federal government. What is the state doing? What are the community doing?
All right.
Somebody somewhere must be doing his job.
Important question there, but let's hear this caller who's been waiting. Hello?
Good evening, Kim.
Welcome.
Good evening to the guys.
Yeah. Good evening.
My name is Prophet Michael Chumwoke.
Okay.
Kim, today on Rise to Wisdom, before the speech, I told us that he cannot do anything. His policies is tied to his destiny. That is what played out during his speech. Tinubu have both security. See, Niger State here, that is very close to Abuja. Insecurity everywhere. We have a caller that is always calling, telling us about what is happening in Niger State. Obasanjo used to tell us what is happening there. Jumping from Niger State to Borno State to tackle insecurity. Is it the proper thing? He has not done anything. This man cannot do anything. I will not do anything. His policies is anti-people. He continues to promise people. Walk the talk. You cannot walk the talk. Tinubu cannot do anything. Tinubu is collapsing Nigeria.
All right. Thank you very much, Prophet Michael. Hello.
Hello, Kimberly and guest.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Happy New Month.
Wish you same.
Abakar from Gwagwalada.
Okay, Abubakar.
Thank you.
More conversation.
Oh dear. Abubakar, can you hold on for a very quick break?
My darling, are you ready to go back to school?
Yes, Mommy. I have everything I need. All that's missing is my favorite food to drink, Capri Sun.
Oh, what? No Capri Sun? We have to fix that right away.
Yay! And Mommy, every carton of Capri Sun now comes with a wristband ruler for school.
A wristband ruler?
Get a wristband ruler in every carton of Capri Sun as you go back to school. Terms and conditions apply.
Capri Sun, the taste of fun.
Welcome back to your number one talk, news, and sports station. This is Nigeria Info.
Oh dear. I think somehow the call dropped. Mr. Bakar, please, if you can call us back. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, the Oracle.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to our guests. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
My name is Salasi. What our guests say most is in the aspect of security.
Yeah.
In some part of Kaduna, somehow there are relative peace in that part.
Okay.
Maybe from the Kaduna town. But if you are going towards Burnangwari, you are still facing this challenge of insecurity.
Okay.
In Burnangwari, as I'm speaking to you, some places you have to pay bandit in order to have access to your farm. Then to talk of Niger State. And talking of Niger State is close to the capital here. It's not far. It's not up to 200 kilometers away from FCT. And we are talking about insecurity. Even in Abuja here, are we secure in Abuja here? That is the question. Yes, they have fire in some other places, but honestly, they still have a lot of work to do in the aspect of intelligence. I say these people collect ransom. They communicate with the people. If I say anything against the government and don't know where I'm making this, and they'll get me arrested. Why can't they get this criminal? What is the NIA?